Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome to my hobby blog. Today we are doing the third review of the Vinegar Syndrome May 2022 package. And today we are going to be talking about probably the most average movie that I have seen. Um, this is a movie I didn't hear of before Vinegar Syndrome did their announcements. It was one I was very interested in as a rock fan and a fan of kind of the 80s in terms of the music. There's not much, positives from the 80s, but movies and music are definitely one of them. And this movie really, really leans on it. And this is from 1984, so again, right there, kind of in the middle of the era. This is Voyage of the Rock Aliens, which again, I really did not care about it on average. I think what really sets this out is that it is a musical, and there's a lot of, 80s glam rock and rockabilly music going on. There's even some punk rock going on in this movie, especially with our main aliens who drive a electric guitar shaped spaceship. And the basic story of this, it's again very, very basic storylines going on here. Our aliens are traveling throughout the galaxy. They pick up an airwave that has Earth's 1980s pop and rock on it. And we get a fun music video of an actual band playing music. And I slightly recognize the song, but they talk about it on the interview, documentary, all about the behind the scenes about this movie on this release. And it is real music that they got for this movie. And one of the main things that I really felt throughout this movie is that it's very disjointed. There's not really any sort of structure at all. They're just pointing and shooting for much of the runtime. And there's a reason for that, because watching the documentary about the movie, which I actually did for this one, I wasn't planning on doing it, but there were a couple stars who I recognized, and I was just curious. But apparently, they accepted millions of dollars from a multi-millionaire back in the 80s and kind of let him just influence the movie any way he wanted. And they said that the director was really pissed off at this investor because he would just come in and just reshoot scenes and would edit the film how he wanted it to be. And so when they finished the movie, this investor said, "Don't release it. You're not allowed to. If you do so, I'm going to sue you." And so for many years, there were no copies of this movie. And finally, he allowed a VHS copy to be released, and that was it. There has been no physical release of this film until the Vinegar Syndrome release. So, continuing, my favorite thing about Vinegar Syndrome is that they give physical releases to movies that will probably be ignored, and this is definitely a movie that can be ignored, but I think it's just entertaining enough that I liked it. I really enjoyed the music of it. They even have the soundtrack online on Spotify, which I was surprised about. And Getaven doesn't have a soundtrack on Spotify, so it's kind of amazing. This movie stars a lot of different famous people. First is Pia Sedora, who is in Hairspray. We get a surprise cameo. I don't really know how to define his character, but Michael Berryman shows up in this movie, and he is fun, as always. Elevates everything about this movie. He had a lot to say about the unsafe special effects that were going on during the filming of this movie. One of which is a co-star that he is hunting down as a chainsaw wielding killer. Is his co-star is kind of leaning against a wooden plank, and he is like on the other side of it, Michael Berryman, and he takes a chainsaw and he cuts from like here all the way around and to the other side, and he's supposed to fall backwards after the chainsaw has cut a, I guess, human-sized hole. And it's supposed to be a funny scene. And Michael Berryman was like, I want nothing to do with that. I don't want to be in charge or responsible for my co-star getting killed or injured. And the co-star was kind of like, you know, this young guy who didn't really want to go through the, I guess, necessities of safety. And so he was just like, yeah, I'll do it. And then, you know, Michael Berryman caused a huge to do at the studio for good reason, in my opinion. Because first he showed up and he's, as he describes himself, a machine head. Because he loves working with tools, he loves machines and, you know, everything to do with them. And he showed up on set to do the scene and found that the special effects guy installed the chainsaw wrong, where if he turned it on, the chain would unhook itself and go around the wielder's hand and slice the hand off. And Michael Berryman was pissed off. You could tell that he was still angry about that because the guy said, okay, here you go, ready to go. You know, I handed Michael Berryman the chainsaw and he immediately realized, like, oh my God, this is not safe. Like, I'm shocked that nobody has even turned this on. So he took the entire thing apart and basically made it according to the safety standards that he knew. And it's kind of amazing to hear about that because I had no idea Michael Berryman was even in this movie. And he had a lot to say on the interview all about the unsafe business practices that were going on. And that was probably the most interesting part about this movie, was hearing all of the different stories that Michael Berryman had. But another part of the making of documentary that I really enjoyed was that we got to well, not we, but we got to see an interview with I guess the assistant to the amazing actress Ruth Gordon, who, if you don't know, she was the older lady in Harold and Maude, which is a movie I don't think I've ever even mentioned, but it's one of my favorite, I guess, wacky comedies. That's also like a dark comedy about a elderly woman who falls in love with a younger man, and he falls in love with her, and they go back and forth, sneaking out together and developing a relationship. And she's also in Rosemary's Baby as the really creepy neighbor who keeps giving Mia Farrow her like weird sleeping pills and drugs, and is really kind of facilitating Mia Farrow's pregnancy throughout Rosemary's Baby. And she's great in this movie as the sheriff. I think she was my second favorite character in this movie, but Michael Berryman, of course, just steals the scenes. Any movie he's in, even in Auntie Lee's Meat Pies, which was a movie I had no feelings on, but I really enjoyed his part in. I'm trying to think anything else. This movie is all over the place, in my opinion. I enjoyed the music. Tonally, it is all over the place, and the executive producers, who were really funny to watch, actually, on the making of documentary, because they talk about how wonderful and amazing and how happy everyone was while shooting this movie. And you get everyone else's side of the story, where we have the special effects guy going, oh my gosh, I was 21. I usually like the movies I'm in, but this time I didn't even want to go to a screening of it because I just did not care. And we have Michael Berryman, who just went off, like, on and on, all about the really scary conditions that he had to work under because nobody knew what they were doing and there was no oversight to the safety. And meanwhile, the executive producers are like, "Oh boy, this was the best shooting ever," and it was just really funny to see that dynamic of these older producers who were attorneys before becoming producers just gloat over how amazing this production was. And you have everyone else going, no, it was not. It was really low budget. We had to serve various roles at once on top of being an actor or a special effects artist or all this different stuff. And it was really fun to see that. I think I had more fun watching the documentary about this movie than I did the actual movie. I really enjoyed the first half because it's half and half music, and the other half is weird alien shenanigans. And there's nothing else in this movie. I feel bad, but this movie, I don't know how Vinegar Syndrome convinced this investor to agree to a physical release of this, but it's not a total waste of time. That's kind of the nicest thing I can say. It's a 96-minute movie, so it's brisk in terms of its runtime, even if it does feel like it's a 2-hour movie throughout, especially the second half of the movie. But would I have bought this without the subscription? I am leaning no, but I feel like I would have been tricked into buying it. Because seeing this cover and the name of the movie, Voyage of the Rock Aliens, I would have picked it up and be like, oh boy, I can't really watch it, and then be severely disappointed. I'm actually less disappointed about getting this in my subscription than I would have been buying it with my own money. This goes into the pile of casualties in terms of like making the good movies that Vinegar Syndrome releases kind of be worth more, in my opinion, and not cost as much individually. Because the more titles there are, the better. Because it is $925 at least for this year for the subscription, and dividing that by how many movies they've released so far, it's pretty good. Like it's about $20, I think, maybe 18, with the slipcover. And if you don't know, Thriller, which I may review next, I don't know yet, that was like $60 MSRP when it first released on the website. And it rounds out for subscription holders to like $20. And I would buy that for $20. I'd buy that for $1, but maybe 20 of them. But yeah, this movie, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say. There's not much to talk about. But thank you all so much for watching. And please don't forget to like and comment. And also subscribe if you have not already. The more viewers, the better. Because that means more participation. And just a lot more fun between all of us. So thank you again. Have a great rest of the night.